Welcome back to Every Other Carl. I'm Carl, and welcome back to the kitchen. This video is going to center on the countertop install. This is a Stretta Laminate Countertop from Lowe's. If you want to know some tips and tricks on just how to install the laminate countertop, you can skip forward a little bit in the video. But we did a full kitchen remodel, which meant new flooring, new or rearranged base cabinets, new or updated plumbing, and all of that combined has to be done in stages. Even the backsplash has to be done in stages, and a lot of that centers on the countertop. So again, if you just want to see the laminate countertop install, skip forward, but I'm going to start it from the beginning. In order to get your counters level, you need to start from the bottom up. Since we are going to replace our flooring, I cut out the existing flooring to install our base cabinets and get them level. Our sink was going to shift about 6 inches to the right, so I cut the backing of the sink cabinet and moved it over. I had an added obstacle in this radiant floorboard. I found that I could cut the upper piece and bend it forward enough to be able to fit perfectly in a notch I cut at the bottom of the cabinets. My floor isn't perfectly level, so I added shims under my cabinets and used my Dovoh 4-plane laser level to get all the base cabinets perfectly level around the corner of the room. Alright, I'm working on getting the base cabinets nice and level and consistent all the way around so that the counter will lay flat in our L shape there. Using my 4-plane laser level. The thing is really helpful. I'll leave a link to it in the description. Alright, it's been a bit of a challenge, but pretty much got it. It's nice and level all the way from those cabinets over to here, right along this line. Did a bunch of shims underneath just to get it nice and level. And also checked front and back level. And that is looking good. With all the cabinets level, I screwed them into the wall and prepped to cut the laminate counter. This is a Stretta counter from Lowe's. I love the way it looks, and it proved to be pretty easy to work with. When you're cutting a laminate countertop, you want to measure it perfectly and then wrap masking tape all the way around the counter on the line that you plan to cut. You also want to flip the counter over and cut it from underneath. This will allow your circular saw to cut up through the tape and into the laminate instead of down and out through the laminate, which could cause it to chip. Once you have it cut, you can take a wood file and gently go over the cut edges of the laminate, only using downward strokes to get rid of any sharp bits and make it less likely to accidentally cut you. Next, I needed to cut a new hole for the sink. I'm using a 25-inch top-mount sink. I measured and drilled 4 holes at the corners and then cut out the hole with a jigsaw using a fine-tooth blade. Alright, this counter is dry fitted in, the sink hole is cut, I like the placement. Now I'm getting ready to cut this piece of the counter. It's going to form that leg of the L. I put 2 brackets on the wall that are going to give it a little bit of support. This is going to be our seating area. There is going to be one more cabinet that goes underneath the countertop there. That's still coming, it's getting shipped to us, but we're going to install the countertop first and then figure out how to put that cabinet in later. Before putting the sink in, I sealed the cut edges of the counter with a mixture of wood glue and a couple coats of latex paint. I give detailed instructions on how to do this in my previous video. I'll leave a link to that on the screen and in the description if you want to check it out. We got our sink on Amazon. Like I said, it's a 25-inch top mount from a company called Bonnlo. I'll leave a link to it in the description. I love this sink because it's very deep at 9 inches, and it maximizes our sink space in this small kitchen while still looking sleek and modern with minimal edges. I put down a generous bead of clear silicone, dropped the sink in, and put a heavy box in the sink until the silicone dried. I then hooked up the plumbing and prepared to install our backsplash. Just to recap, I started with getting the base cabinets level, then installed the counter, then did the plumbing, and now I can do the backsplash. You can't really do these things out of order. We used a real marble Mosaic backsplash applied with a premixed mortar. This type of tile is not too hard to install yourself. You just have to make sure the lines between the Mosaic squares stay consistent and you don't let too much mortar squeeze out between the tiles, or else you'll have trouble when you go to grout.
Alright, it's the next day. The backsplash has dried fully, and now I'm going to seal it because it is natural stone. I have this sealer. I'm just going to rub it on there, let it sit for a while, and then clean it off. And then once that's properly dried, I can grout it, and then I'll seal it again once the grout is dry.
Alright, the tiles are all in. The stone is sealed. Now we're going to go ahead and grout it using this Mapei Ultracolor Plus FA. It's from Lowe's, and out the bag it's way cheaper than buying the bucket, but mixed it up, and I'm gonna put it on with a float. I think this is going to be a pretty easy grout to use. Grout dries pretty quickly, so you need to work fairly quickly when you mix it up. I'm using a foam float and working the grout into the joints with diagonal passes. Once it hazes over, I can wipe off the excess with a wet sponge. Then, once that haze is over, I can clean the haze off with a dry rag.
Alright, the grout is all done. I did my cleaning passes with the sponge. I'm waiting for that last bit of haze to dry, and then I'll rub it off with a dry rag.
The last part of the counter install I'll show in this video is sealing the seam between the two pieces that make up my L-shaped counter and caulking the edges against the backsplash and wall. The joint between these two pieces of countertop would be very susceptible to water getting in and creating serious swelling under the laminate. Stretta, who makes this counter, actually sells a white color-matching glue to put into this seam. I put masking tape on either side of the joint and then generously applied the glue into the joint with my finger. Before it dried, I removed the tape. I used a similar method to caulk the edges of the counter. I put masking tape on the counter and the wall and then used a white silicone caulk all the way around. I removed the tape before the caulk was dry to reveal a clean caulk line all the way around. Alright, that's going to do it for the countertop install video. If you want to see more, go ahead and hit the subscribe button to see the finished product in this kitchen. If you like the video, like the video. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave that in the comment section below. Maybe you see a way I could have done this better, and that could help the next person out. But until next time, I'm ever the Carl, and I'll see ya.